can you share some effective strategies for keyword research and selections in SEO and Google Ads campaign? So I have a very bad way of thinking about this. And the way I think about it is, what keyword searches are going to lead up to a customer calling you? And so in one way, it's just a brainstorming activity. You think, okay, well, if I'm looking for a dentist, most likely in my area, and I don't know where to go, I'm going to look up dentist near me. Or I'm going to look up dentist that does implants, or whatever that variation is. And so you could write a list of keywords and find out and just kind of brainstorm what it is. But the problem with that is that it's just brainstorming. Welcome to the Local Service Podcast. This is episode 35 or 36. And today we have another FAQ type of episode where we have a bunch of questions here gathered by ChatGPT, I think. And we're just going to go ahead and answer them. So, new setup. If you're watching this on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, I don't know. Got some artwork at the office. This is the first time doing it in the office. So, not bad. Very easy. Very easy setup. Probably couldn't do a multi-person show here, but one person we can. So let's just go ahead and get started. And I actually haven't even reviewed these questions very deeply at all. Like there's like 15, and I'm just going to go down the line, give you some feedback here. So number one, can you explain the importance of SEO for businesses today and how it impacts their online visibility? So the importance is dependent on your strategy. So does every business need search engine optimization? No. Is search engine optimization a good way of getting clients? Yes. Is there a degree of how much SEO a business does? Yes. And what I mean by that is for a lot of the clients that we have that have existed for a while, and their online presence is terrible. For example, I've had now this year alone, 3 companies that have been around for 8 plus years, and all 3 of them had 2 different domains with 2 different websites. So essentially, they are duplicating their own selves on the internet. And the problem with this is, let's say I have symphonyadvertising.com and then I have houstonsymphonyadvertising.com. And imagine both have Google profiles, imagine both of them have reviews, imagine they're 2 separate websites, and imagine the content on each website is slightly different, and imagine the logo is different, the branding's different, the color's different. Essentially, not only are you competing against yourself, but you're confusing your customer to understand, okay, is this the same business? Is this a different business? If I submit a form here, does it go to... I spoke to a guy in California. He had 4 websites live on the internet, and he was trying to rank all of them independently with different names, but they all led to the same person. And in a way, I can understand, like, if you're trying to do that, but it's always better, in my opinion, to focus on one brand, one business, one concept than it is to do 4 in this example. Because just imagine, it's already difficult enough growing one business, getting found, servicing clients, growing your business. Imagine doing that, even though it's digitally. Imagine doing that for 4 separate businesses, even though it's technically the same. I just find that redundant and not the best strategy. So again, the importance of SEO, I think, is still big. I think it's still very relevant. And at the very least, you want to cover your basics. You want to cover the basics. Tell Google what you do, where you do it, and how can they contact you. Have a well-designed site that's easy to use and navigate. And it's kind of like setting up a trap, like an alligator. Like, it's there for when someone searches for you, for your services. It's not like you're pushing the content out. It's when someone comes through and finds you that it's there. So like, it's a good to have thing, but you can't force the situation. It's more you set it up, and based off demand, based off what people are searching up, is how you improve that. And over time, as you add content, as you figure out what are people looking up, it makes a difference. And so even in my own business, I have found that I used to not do SEO in the beginning. I started doing SEO over the course of the last 2 years, and now random people out of Atlanta call and say, hey, I saw that you're well-known agency in Houston. I'm curious to know what you guys do. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy, because it really does it really does work. So that's one channel. You always want, in my opinion, a couple channels where you have word of mouth, SEO, Google Ads, social media, maybe some other type of referral setup, and that's going to give you a good mix of what you could call lead flow. So that was question one. Question two, what are some common SEO mistakes that businesses make, and how can they avoid them? So I think a common mistake is just simply not playing the game. So you can think about SEO as something you're actively doing and then something you're actively not doing. What I find a lot, and maybe it's because I'm in the agency space, is that you have a lot of businesses that start a website, start an SEO process, start tracking their keywords on some kind of tool that they get, but they never really start. It's more like, I'm going to put a toe in the water and I'm never going to actually take the steps to improve my SEO. Because it's hard. I mean, I actually understand, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of keyword research. It's a lot of tracking, and it's a lot of writing. Honestly, a lot of linking. So you have to have multiple skills in order to make it work. And for I would say like 99% of the people on the planet, it's like something that doesn't come easy. And so the biggest mistake is choosing whether to do it or to not do it. I think it's a decision. And then probably the next one is expectations. So there is no concrete answer as to how long does it take to rank for something. And then actually, here's the biggest misconception. Just because you rank for a keyword doesn't mean you're going to get business from it. So if you search Houston Advertising Agency, Symphony Advertising comes up as one of the local packs. I know this because people from other states that are not in Texas look us up and they find us. And yes, we are ranked literally one of the top positions for that keyword, which you would think is a great keyword, but we probably only get like 2 calls a month from it. And so it's two different things. Yes, you can appear for a good keyword, but is it one that's going to lead to more customers? And so that's why, side note, Symphony Advertising, my agency, offers more of a holistic solution. Like, it's not just about the SEO. It's not just about the website. It's not just about the Google Ads. It's not just about the Google reviews. It's them working together so that depending on how the customer finds you and how they do research about you, it checks off those boxes that they need in order to contact you. Because that's the end result. The end result is the marketing brings a lead, and then, then it's on the business. If they don't know their pricing, or if they don't know how to sell, or if it's, take too long to respond, that's kind of something else. But marketing wise, I would say SEO mistakes are: 1, are you doing it or are you not doing it? And 2, the timeline is much longer than you would think. Even for the only time it's quick is if you're in a city with no businesses and you're one of the first to start it, then you're going to rank pretty fast. But the problem is the demand's going to be super low. So there's a give and take there. Number 3, Google Ads can be powerful. Google Ads can be a powerful tool for driving traffic, but it can also be costly. How can businesses maximize their ROI when using Google Ads? This is a great question. And there's always different personas with these type of questions, because you're going to have the segment of people that are new to business. You're going to have the segment of people who have been in business but haven't ran ads. You're going to have the people who have been in business and have ran ads and have done it successfully. And you're going to have the top end of that, where they're spending on the higher percentage side of that industry. And so how can businesses maximize their ROI when using Google Ads? This is such a tough question. Because, for example, we have a lawyer client who, before they came to us, they were spending about $25,000 a month on their Google Ads. And they were getting a lot of calls and they were closing a lot of deals. But after doing my audit, unfortunately, it looked like they were mismanaging the keywords. Targeting wasn't the best. It was a lot of volume, but it wasn't the best result. As far as for every $1,000 they spent, they got 2 clients. But when they moved to us, they actually cut the budget in half, more than half. And now they get not as many calls, but they actually make more money because their total ad spend, so it went from $25,000 to $10,000, it doesn't cut into their sales. So from a maximize ROI perspective, that sounds good. But you have to think about it in an even like broader scope. So if the $25,000 per month brings in 10 clients per month, and if the $10,000 ad spend brings in 5 clients a month, you could argue, even though you're making less money off the 10 versus the 5, over time, there's going to be more customers who have used your that have used your business. Therefore, there's more potential for word of mouth. So like, it's kind of weird to kind of vary off of that, but I wouldn't get too stuck on the actual data. Use the data as a metric. Is it working? Is it not working? How well is it working? And how well is it not working? But it's more of a pulse, and you have to try them all, honestly, because you're not going to know. For example, instead of spending $25,000, what if you spent $50,000? Could we expect double the results per month? And at some point, there's an equilibrium. There's like, now you're spending too much and not getting the same type of result. And vice versa, you might spend too little and not get enough leads. But that's the good and bad thing about marketing. It's like, and then you know what you want to think about? It's like, even if you are the most profitable business, right? Then you just go off and buy a car with the money anyway. So it's like, what's the point of being the most profitable versus spending? And that's just one example, but I would just make sure it's steering in the right direction at a good rate. So this is going to be preferential for everyone, and depending on the service, it matters. So like, if your service is $300, then you shouldn't be spending $500 per client. But if your service is a $10,000 service and it costs you $3,000 to get it, then it makes a little bit more sense. So the ratio is probably more important than the actual return, because you can always scale up or down the budget, but you shouldn't scale your budget up if you're spending $2,000 in order to get a $100 client. That is absolutely how you go out of business. Versus vice versa, if you're spending $100 to get a $500 client, it's like, okay, well, we can make that work. And at some point, it's not worth it anymore, where it's just washing through. But even then, again, that's more people who know about your business, word of mouth. If you get them in your pipeline, can you upsell them at some point within the next year? Could you double the revenue? That it's like, there's opportunity. I wouldn't just look at it from a face value. Like, you have to look into the data and think of how you can make it work. Number 4, can you share some effective strategies for keyword research and selections in SEO and Google Ads campaign? So I have a very bad way of thinking about this. And the way I think about it is, what keyword searches are going to lead up to a customer calling you? And so in one way, it's just a brainstorming activity. You think, okay, well, if I'm looking for a dentist, most likely in my area, and I don't know where to go, I'm going to look up dentist near me. Or I'm going to look up dentist that does implants, or whatever that variation is. And so you could write a list of keywords and find out and just kind of brainstorm what it is. But the problem with that is that it's just brainstorming. It's much better to have data with each keyword so that you know, oh, okay. And SEMrush has gotten really good because now they do it based off your location. So for example, back then, literally months ago, you could say, okay, for dentists near me, there's 100,000 searches, which is great. That indicates that there's a lot of volume for it, but that's for the United States. Now you can take that same dentist near me, geolocate it to Houston, and now we know, oh, actually in Houston specifically, there's 23,000 searches per month. So now you can get a little bit more granular with the data. But it's a little bit it's difficult, because with Google Ads, it depends on the match type. With SEO, you should be a little bit more strategic with which keywords you pick, because you have less wiggle room. With SEO, it takes longer. There's already going to be a bunch of competition for the keywords you think are the best, because everyone's going to think those are the best. So you have to play in the long tail keyword at first. And so I would suggest using a tool like SEMrush. I think it costs like $135 a month. I would actually sign up for it, use it, do the keyword research, or I think they may have a free trial, and do it that way, because until you get that data, you're always going to be guessing. And for things that take time and things that you're investing money in, I think it's worth it. Google Ads does have a tool, a keyword tool planner. I haven't used it in a long time, but one of the reasons people can't use that tool is because you have to spend money in order for that tool to even become available. So either way, you're going to spend money in finding out these keywords. There's free ones. You can just Google that. I think Uber Suggest is one of them, but it doesn't have data attached to it. There's a bunch. All right, with 5, with the rise of voice search and mobile uses, how has SEO evolved and what should business do to adapt? So that was very interesting. There was a small period in time where the voice search became kind of like ChatGPT right now and AI. And before this, you could argue that it was the NFTs, and before that, it was like the tokens, NFTs, same thing. There was a time where like I had a bunch of clients ask like, "Hey, we have to optimize our website for voice." And I don't disagree, but I don't think it's that big of a play right now. Because even the tool itself, like I use Google Home, and when I talk to it, it's not that helpful. Yes, it pulls up, like sometimes I'll ask it for recommendations on where can I get some hot dogs or something like that. And it'll give me like 3 places that are closest to me. But in my opinion, voice search is like 9th in line of what you should optimize, and most businesses aren't going to be there yet. And so I really wouldn't worry. It's like worrying about something that doesn't matter. The weight of that action doesn't warrant the activity to do it. So it's all resource management. Okay, I have 24 hours a day. Where do I allocate my resources? Voice search, probably you're okay. Maybe at some other point. But right now, I don't see that big of a role. First, I would focus on web design, Google Ads, SEO, social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. There's already like 7 full-time jobs, so you're good. Let's see. What role does website design play in SEO, and how can a well-designed website improve search engine rankings? I would say just about. Like 9 out of 10 clients that come through our agency, they don't have good websites. And a lot of times, how can I put this? Imagine you go to a grocery store and you're looking for potatoes, but there is no organization to the grocery store. There's just stuff everywhere. There's no signs, there's no aisles, there's no one to help you. The doors are in different places. The checkout lines are across each other in different parts of the store. It's just confusing. You go in there, you're like, I know I need potatoes. I actually really need the potatoes, but I can't find them. No one's helping me. And I mean, I'm just going to go to the next grocery store because this makes no sense. That's kind of what it is to have a poorly designed website. It's like people might need your services. They might even find you online. But once they go to your site and they're like, how do I get to where I need to get to? They're just going to leave. And so yes, for SEO, web design is, in my opinion, they're almost tied together. You can't have good SEO without good web design. And so it's extremely important. I would say they go hand in hand. You should have both to maximize your SEO progress, but also just from a user experience, a well-designed, simple navigating site is going to do good. And let's keep in mind that just about 80 to 90% of all the traffic is going to be mobile. So it has to be optimized for mobile. All right. 7, when it comes to web design, what are the key elements that contribute to a positive user experience and SEO-friendly design? So this is probably going to be on-page optimization. Essentially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide Google with what our website is about. And then with each page, so it can be the home page, it could be the about us page is not nearly as important, but the service pages, the locations pages, we're just giving Google a signal as to what it is we do, where we do it, and how they can contact us. So the on-page optimization is going to be the biggest part. And the way I would think about SEO is more like bodybuilding. Like, you're not going to get results by going to the gym once or even twice a week. You can go twice a week, but you got to go for years to see some positive results. Not only that, you got to eat right. And so I would look up on-page optimization because it's never ending. It literally is not going to end. There could be a time where Google search goes into AI, and instead of it pulling up search engine result pages, they're going to pull up like just, oh, okay, you asked for this. This is the most, like they skip that step. You no longer pick the link. It just shows you the website. which they kind of do with the snippets where it'll answer the question without you having to click in. Once it goes to that, which it may happen, content is going to become extremely... What's going to happen is content is going to become the new searchable thing. So you'll, just like on TikTok, if I look up how to run Google Ads, that in itself is a search engine, and Google is just going to do that version on their site because it's what people want these days. Is it effective? I don't know. You could argue that. I don't know. Let's not go there. Okay. Number 8. How important is mobile responsiveness in web design, and what impacts does it have on SEO? What sucks about web design is that you build it on a desktop. But when you're thinking about the user experience, it should always be for mobile. I would say build for mobile first, at least in your head. And it has, SEO wise, it's relatively the same. You're going to take the same actions. It's going to be the same on-page optimizations, H1s, Meta's SEO title. It's going to be the same, but it's more about when they land there, does it load? Can I get to the navigation menu easy? And so you have to be cognizant of both platforms, but I would put an emphasis more on the mobile. Google frequently updates its search algorithm. How can business stay updated and adapt their SEO strategies accordingly? So this is the most annoying thing about being a marketing agency, is that one day you're going the right direction, you're making progress, and then in a moment's notice, it turns out everything you've worked on for the last 2 months is not even, it's longer than that, 6 months is thrown out the window, and you have to kind of re-strategize. I would say that's just part of the game. It's just part of the game. Google is always going to be changing, just like TikTok was nothing a few years ago, and now it's everything. Just like Instagram never had stories, then it has stories. Now that's kind of more of the reason people use it. Just like Facebook used to be a big player, now people don't really use it as much. Facebook pages, I mean, come on, who really uses that anymore? So it ebbs and flows, and you have to adapt with not only marketing channels, but within the marketing channels such as Google. What are some effective link building strategies for SEO, and how can businesses build high quality backlinks? So this is pretty tough. I would think the easiest way of doing this that I've seen my clients do for themselves is when a local news station, a local newspaper, a local school interviews them and links them back. Anytime it's .edu or something with a higher authority and it's genuine, is one of the easier link backs that you can get. Then you have the ones that you can purchase, which you can do research and you can find domains, websites with high domain authority, which means that they hold value. If I say that, if I hold any value at all, if I say that, my friend is very good at web design, I recommend you to use them. If I tell my friend that, it's going to hold a lot of value. If I tell the person that's going to walk right here, like, hey, my friend does very good web design and I don't even know them, they're going to be like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who he is. Leave me alone. So the credibility that I'm passing through is not as strong as when it's somebody who knows me. And so that essentially is the same thing with backlinks. If a website has credibility, then they're going to pass the juice to your website. If the New York Times wrote an article and said, Symphony Advertising is the next best marketing agency in the United States, check them out, then that's going to be a pretty big deal. If I create a website called Caesar's Newspaper and then I link my own business on there, it's not going to do anything because it doesn't hold any credibility. And so the right answer to that is reaching out to people who have websites, asking them to write an article about you, or providing an article for them to put on their site. But it's tough. Like, essentially you're scouting for potential places that you can get a link back. And a lot of times people aren't going to do that for free. Either it has to be a high value article or you have to pay. And a good tool to use is SEMrush. That's what we use. And it'll give you recommendations as to who or what domains you can go after, what type of category they're in. And then they give you like a little to-do list of like, okay, who did you reach out to? It's literally just saying, reach out to, here's 1,000 people you can reach out to. Did you reach out? Yes. Did you not reach out? No. But there's no way of just manually. I mean, you could literally pay for like 20 backlinks. But in SEO, there's three ranking factors for Google. There's domain authority. There's how much traffic goes to your website and interacts with it or just bounces. And then there's backlink quality. So if you buy 100 backlinks and they're all clearly spammy, purchased, not good links, that's just going to hurt your overall rankings. It's better, like most things, if you acquire a couple backlinks. It depends on your business too. Like if you're a local service-based business, you're playing a different game. You're not writing blogs on how to cook or the next healthy, unless you're a gym, right? The next healthy trend you should do. You're more local service-based. So the opportunity is a little bit different, but I would rather have a local service-based business get a couple backlinks per year than one per week. Just because it's the ratio. Like it just doesn't exist the same as it does with other industries. And it's just different. I think 5 years ago even, it was more common. Now it's a little bit, there's different ways, you know? And so I encourage people to do it. We try to do it, but it's a tough game. It's definitely, you could call it a high-end service if you're specifically going after high-quality links, and you know, it's possible to get them. Inadvertently, PR companies are kind of good at this because PR companies have relationships with publications. So they might write an article and say, hey, people, we have this article for this client, whoever wants to link back. The only difference is usually those cost a little bit more. But that's another option. Or just doing a press release for yourself and see if anybody picks it up. All right. Number 10? No, 11. All right, we're almost done. Can you explain the concept of local SEO and its significance for small businesses? What strategies work best for improving local search rankings? So this is why I love local service-based businesses, because it's pretty simple. You're basing your strategy on proximity. So Symphony Advertising has an office in downtown Houston. We tell the internet essentially, hey, here is 70 local listings that say Symphony Advertising is located in this address with this phone number. This is their website. And I think that's it. NAPs, name, address, phone number, and website. And so now just doing that alone, getting your listing on well-known directories are going to give you credit. Okay, they exist there. That's one. Two, these are not in any order. Two, the on-page optimizations can reflect your location. So if we have a page for Houston, if we have a page for Conroe, for the Woodlands, for downtown Houston, for Montrose, for the Heights, each one of these pages is essentially, it's not an article, but it's a page with content that's telling Google and that's telling our customers, hey, we're a marketing company near the Heights, Houston. Here's what we do. Here's what we do. Here's where we do it. Contact us if you like services, if you have questions, so on and so forth. So with local businesses, it's a lot of on-page optimizations. I would say backlinks are going to be a big bonus, and they're always going to help. But based off proximity and your Google profile, you can get a lot of traffic just because that's the point of local SEO. It's people finding someone near them. So you're not competing against somebody in Kentucky. You're not competing against somebody in Dallas. If you're in Houston, you're competing with someone else in Houston. Digital marketing, okay, you can argue that doesn't part matter. But if you're like a car mechanic, a roofer, a floor installer, a dentist, a lawyer, like you're not going past a certain radius. That makes sense, right? Like 30 miles, maybe 40, maybe 50, maybe. You're not going to go 250 miles to go service, a tooth pain. Or they're not going to come to you. And so that is 11. Number 12, in Google Ads, what are some advanced targeting options and ad formats that business might not be fully utilizing? I wouldn't even say advanced. I think a lot of the more basic Google Ads options and settings are kind of overlooked. So settings, make sure you target the right location and use presence in. That's a big one. your match type. I just, if you aren't that skilled with Google Ads, use phrase match. Trust me, just use phrase match. Don't use broad match. Go nuts if you use exact match, but phrase match. And then, a simple one is your schedule. So I always recommend something morning and like kind of late, but not all the way late, because if someone's clicking on your ad at 2 a.m. in the morning, it's kind of weird. Why are they doing that? I would say 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Very simple. Fill out all the headlines, fill out all the descriptions, add as many ad extensions as you can. So like the call extension. So if somebody looks you up, the phone number appears, not all the time, but sometimes. Site links, image extensions, logo extensions, and just do it comes with a certain set of options. Just do all of them. And as far as advancements, that's where you get, that gets pretty tricky. Like if you want to do conversion tracking, if you want to do redirect to a thank you page, if you want to do retargeting, those are all good strategies. But I would first just do the basics, because a lot of people miss that. Number 13, how can businesses effectively track and measure the performance of their SEO and Google Ads campaign? So with that, we use SEMrush to track keywords, keyword position, traffic progress, and that gives you a little bit more insight as to what the specific movement is. So for advertising agency in Houston, it can tell us that in August we were ranking, 12th, and as of today, 30 days later, we're ranking 3rd. It can get that granular, but again, that's a tool that costs quite a bit, and a more simple solution is use Google Analytics and use Google Search Console. They're going to tell you, and it's kind of interesting is that the only time it becomes effective when you're using those tools is when you actually have traffic going to your site. So if you don't have traffic going to your site, which is kind of like the chicken and the egg, right? It's like, well, I can't track because no one's coming to my site, and if no one's coming to site, well, there's nothing I can track. So how, which one's first? But once you do have traffic going to your site, the Google Search Console is going to give you a really good idea about what are people looking up that's prompting your website to come up, and the Google Analytics is going to tell you what happened specifically, like the history of what happened with your site. And so those are good ones to track engagement and activity. But then depending on the size of your business, someone has to have a pulse of, okay, we were not doing marketing and we never had new customers. We started doing marketing. Now we have more customers. That's like step one. Step two is understanding to what degree is it effective. And again, each client, each budget, each situation is going to have its own metric for success. So to each their own on that one. With privacy concerns and regulations like GDPR and CCPA, how has online advertising and website design changed to ensure compliance? So the only place I see an issue with this is if you're a doctor, a chiropractor. And the only other time I've seen this is if you are in Europe, because I know Europe has a much more strongly regulated control on that. But if it's an issue, at least with marketing, they tell you to do it. So Facebook, Google Ads, if you're collecting information from the website, they'll ask you to add a privacy policy on the bottom of the website or anywhere. You just have to provide the link. But I think it's for more medical, it doesn't say HIPAA here, but if you are dealing with sensitive information, then just do whatever it says. Like that if that's a legal concern, then, or something you have to comply with, then do it. If it's something that's a little bit more gray or something that is a nice to have, like for example, having where if you can't see, you can use the website. That's, not everyone's has to do that, but it's nice to have that be an option. So I would just read into the legalities of that, but definitely don't do anything that gets you in trouble. And lastly, what emerging trends do you see in SEO, Google Ads, and web design that businesses should be aware for in the future? So the trend that I'm catching on here is that back in the day, let's say 2016, you still had to convince people to get a website, Google SEO. social media, anything digital. Now, kind of everybody knows that it's part of running a business. I say everybody knows, but maybe not. There's still a lot of companies out there that don't do it. And so what I see as a marketing agency is two things that can be both good and bad. So imagine trying to go buy a nice pair of shoes, and there is 100 pairs of shoes in inventory. 100. The inventory is 100 shoes. Right now, there's like 45 people that get in line and buy the shoes, and then the rest go over time. As more people go digital, as more people build websites, run Google Ads, run SEO, that shoe that there's 100 of, there's going to be like 193 people who want that shoe. And so the competition to get that shoe, which if you don't understand the metaphor is that shoe is the customer. If everybody builds a website and runs Google Ads and does SEO and runs social media, then at what point then are you competing on? And I think there's enough out there on the planet to go around, but I can see that the longer someone takes to ride this wave, because it's gonna end. Like at some point it's gonna be TikTok, at some point it's gonna be ChatGPT, at some point there's gonna be a new device. It's gonna be the Apple whatever, the Apple eyeglasses or whatever they're called, and everyone's gonna find their local business that way. So like, what part of the trend are we on? Are we peaking? Have we peaked? Is it going down? I'm not sure. Based on technology, based on consumer behavior, but it's still very good. Like it's still a place that small businesses specifically at a very low cost, in my opinion, done right, you can acquire new customers and you can build a business with it. And so that is all 15 questions that we had today. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about Google Ads or SEO or web design apart from these, shoot us an email. Thank you so much for tuning in.